And Central Bank Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge is currently facing a Senate committee hearing where he's expected to shed light on the shilling depreciation. The shilling has weakened by an estimated 14% since January on the back of a strengthening dollar that has put pressure on most emerging currencies. By 11 a.m. this morning, the shilling had weakened slightly from Friday's close trading at 101 shillings and 45 cents buying and 101 shillings 55 cents selling. And according to the interbank lending rates, a sign of tight liquidity, which is typically helping the shilling strengthen by making it expensive to hold dollars. End-month dollar demand from most corporates is seen as the key driver to the shilling's trading levels today. And the governor is also expected to take the Senate Finance Committee through bank recapitalization as well as balancing monetary and fiscal policy. To tell us more now about this latest meeting, we are now joined by Adelaide Njoroge, who has been following this inquiry session. Adelaide, if you can hear me, what exactly is the CBK governor giving as response to the Finance Committee's inquiries?
All right. Thank you very much, Joy. What happened, we were talking, the Central Bank governor came in to talk about the depreciation of the shilling and what has been driving this particularly. We've been seeing the shilling has depreciated almost 12% this year. So they wanted to look at what exactly has been driving this. So what the Central Bank is putting in place to ensure that this is stopped, or at least to understand what is driving it. What was very interesting was that there was some misunderstanding between the Central Bank and the committee, and the governor actually came in almost an hour later than when we expected. The session started at 11:30, and we had anticipated to start at 10 o'clock. Because the governor had, according to the communication from his office, he had understood that the meeting was to happen on Wednesday. That was a very funny part of the whole grilling process. But when he came in, he actually did enunciate. He put in place. He actually listed the measures the central bank had been doing over the last 2 or 3 months. Talked about the central bank rate. Talked about the limiting of forex dealing for banks between 10% of total assets, just to try and limit the level of demand for dollars and limit speculation, so as to reduce the amount of volatility that we have been seeing with the shilling. And he's saying that had quite a significant impact. He said last week the shilling actually, the exchange rate improved from 102 to 100 by Friday. But of course today we've seen some of the shilling, depreciating further night at 101.5, according to the governor.
All right, Adelaide, did the governor raise concerns regarding the debt to GDP ratio?
Yeah, that's something else that came up and it was quite interesting. And the governor basically throws the National Treasury under the bus, in a sense. Saying that, from 2012, the debt to GDP has fallen from 40% to GDP to the current 51%. And he says fine, at 51% it's still sustainable, but he's worried about the level of borrowing and the level of the current government seems to be accumulating in recent past. I think about this week, last week we saw the government signing a deal with the World Bank for almost 50 billion shillings. They signed another one with the Italian government a few days later. Then again, we saw them signing quite a few deals with the US government. And all of this is debt that must be repaid in some way. So the Central Bank is raising concern about the level of debt accumulation, not necessarily the sustainability of the debt as it currently stands, but where they see it going and they see it becoming unsustainable if the current trend continues.
All right. Has he talked about whether or not the increase in lending rates has helped to cushion the shilling in any way whatsoever?
He did mention, he said that the thing what they were trying to do is to try and limit the demand for shillings and basically have a demand for dollars. And increasing the interest rates was supposed to now remove a lot of liquidity in the market. There was a lot of shillings in circulation. So what they wanted to do is now start saving people to now put their money, let it accumulate, savings. I think rather to put their money away and actually start saving and not necessarily spend. So it has actually had an impact if you think about it. Like I mentioned, the shilling last week we saw it clawing back some of the eroded gains. It's from 102 to 130, I believe it was, by Friday. Of course, again, like I mentioned today, it's at 101.5. But this is actually driven particularly by end-month pressure, particularly from importers of fuel, who now must import their products at the end of the month, and also with banks paying off some of their obligations internationally. So this has actually been driven not necessarily by speculation, but this is actually end-month pressures that we actually see pretty normal as far as the governor is. That's what he said, actually. So that as far as he's concerned, this is pretty normal.
All right. Adelaide, now, on the 5th of August, there's going to be another MPC meeting. From the inquiry that is ongoing, do you think that you can almost predict what that meeting is going to talk about?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up, and let me see if I understood your question. Are you asking if there is another rate increase that is imminent?
The next MPC meeting is going to be held on the 5th of August, which is a few days from now. With the ongoing Financial Committee meeting or inquiry that is ongoing right now, can you almost predict what that meeting is going to be about?
Of course, they're going to look at the shilling. The shilling is still coming under pressure, increased pressure from the rebounding U.S. economy, the rebounding U.S. dollar. The U.S. economy is doing really well, and it's actually pushing up the dollar. And then something else that's quite interesting that came out was the fact that a little bit of the appreciation in the U.S. currency is being driven by capital flights from the Eurozone region, which is now being seen as having increased risk. So now people are buying the dollar, not because the economy is actually doing well, it is doing, but also because they are running away from the risks that are inherent in the Eurozone region. And African countries like Kenya, seeing as frontier markets, we're seen to be having increased risk, so we're also seeing capital flight from here. So what the central bank is going to do, they're saying they're not pulling anything from the table. They're willing to deploy whatever measures that are available, and that means a rate increase could come, another rate CBR increase. So people are saying even up to 1.5%, another one. But some people are speculating that perhaps we could be seeing an increase in cash reserve ratios from banks. And some measures targeted specifically at banks to now try and remove some of the liquidity that is in the market, excess liquidity that's in the market, to now try and show up the shilling, basically reduce supply of shilling and increase supply of dollars, just so that we can see the shilling, sort of taper out and even out.
Well, thank you so much, Adelaide. We do appreciate the update. KTN's Adelaide Njoroge following up on the inquiry.